in sales, it was the one place that made me feel that I was constantly upgrading myself. You ask
Yeah.
them, why are you not motivated to go out there and sell? Why are you looking at the phone and the phone's looking at you? What's the point? Go and talk and talk and talk and talk. Still no sales.
What does retirement look like to you?
A castle in Ireland.
Say what? And hello, welcome back to Edric, Poon and Company, the podcast where anybody can inspire everybody. Hi again, it's me, your host, Edric, and with me this week. All right, this is just for you guys, all the salespeople out there, because again, you know, I used to be a salesperson. I still am actually, not used to be. But anyway, he is Southeast Asia's #1 and most sought after sales trainer, Mr. Leroy Frank Ratnam. And Leroy is the founder of Sales Excellence Institute, an award-winning sales training school recognized as Singapore's leading sales training school. He's got plenty of clients, huge MNCs, great names, and Leroy and I are going to be putting this episode together just for you out there on how you're going to get to the next level. But of course, we have to be brutally honest with ourselves and find out why is it that we're not succeeding, what we need to look out for before we can get there. So, without further ado, let's get on to the podcast. Hi, Leroy. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm really good. And you?
I'm all right, man. I'm all right. Hey, thanks so much for coming on to the podcast, especially, that we get to now pick your brain. I was so excited to actually see you back on social media because you had this disappearance, the strange thing is when COVID came, you disappeared. But now it seems like when COVID is going away, hopefully, then you kind of mark your re-entry, into this space once again. What happened? Why is it that you disappeared for those few years?
Not actually a few years. What happened was I actually had a Facebook profile. It was a public page, which had, I think, about 40 over 1,000 people on it, right? All of the participants that I trained over the years, right? And what happened was, unfortunately, it got hacked. And when it got hacked, I didn't realize what happened to it. And the IT guys were looking into, getting it back. But unfortunately, we couldn't get it back. And eventually, we discovered that it became a furniture shop. So I guess they wanted my database to sell their online furniture. And then, so we gave it up for a while. And I actually went off from training for a while, for about almost 3/4 of a year, only working with selected clients. And the reason is because with the current pandemic that has happened, I was doing a lot of research on what should be done for salespeople, for example, for organizations, for entrepreneurs, right? And so over time, and then people started asking me to come back onto Facebook. So that's what I did. Yeah. Good to be
So
back.
you've been training for a long time. I mean, you and I go pretty way back, right? Back
Yeah.
in those days in that particular organization, in training and all that. When you had to transition very recently into the virtual space, how different was it for you in terms of adapting to that particular medium?
Okay. I think for me, the virtual space was never something that I was afraid of. It was just something that I didn't prefer, right? I think for many people who have been through my trainings, whenever I do it on a live stage, whether it's in Singapore, Malaysia, Vietnam, or Indonesia, I mean Southeast Asia, basically, I'm a very interactive person, right? I like to go into the crowd, tap them, joke with them, play with them, right? Have lots of physical activities and so on and so forth. And so when the pandemic hit, right, and quite a number of my clients couldn't run any more of the live trainings on stage, what happened was, I lost quite a bit of traction there because they said that they will bring me back on the very moment that the pandemic is over. And over time, we thought that the pandemic would not last very long, but it seems to have dragged, right?
Oh,
So
man.
I had a number of clients who came up to me and said that since the pandemic is dragging, Leroy, can you start doing for us webinars, right? Webinars. And it was a bit of a stretch for me because I'm not very used to speaking in front of a camera. I do have a small little YouTube channel where we're just playing around with it. But what happened over time was that I started to, embrace the idea that, going on webinars, going digital is going to be very important because a lot of our clients were asking us to come back. And that's what we did, right? So we ran a couple of webinars for some of our major clients. And actually, I discovered that it's not that bad after all. Once that was done, I had quite a number of people who came up to me and said, maybe you should start, putting your courses online, right? So that's what we are actually doing. We have launched one module, a very simple module, and we are going to be building on that over the next couple of months because we feel also that somehow or another we need to embrace the world of online training. And I've got quite a lot of other friends who are doing very well online, right? They are transferring their knowledge effectively. They are engaging with their participants effectively. So it's a skill set that we are progressing on and we are learning, old dinosaurs like myself. So what's going to happen very simply is that we are pursuing this. Yeah. So it's good to be back. Really good to be back.
Great. And now that we're talking about all these sales courses that you're doing, the webinars and all this, now tell us a little bit more about what SEI really has to offer at this point in time so that salespeople can also look at it and go, okay, this is definitely going to be useful for me.
Okay. Sales Excellence Institute, I founded it in the year 2008. And it wasn't founded because I wanted to monetize the business. It wasn't founded because I saw it as a business that I wanted to run fully, right? I think for the many people who have, encountered me in trainings, one thing I've always shared with them is that training is a passion for me, right? It's a passion. I do have a business that I run on a daily basis, and that is to put food on the table, right? And training has always been something that I've looked at as a passion. So in 2008, when we first started, we started with the mindset that education shouldn't be costly, but to not educate yourself will be costly to you, right? So we first started with quite a lot of free trainings with people who asked for it, and then over time, we had corporates, organizations that came to us and said, one of my staff attended one of the free trainings in the public arena. They said it was good, it was beneficial. So can we start to explore with you some kind of training modules so that you can empower our staff at the same time provide them with the necessary skill sets. So when that happened, we began to realize that there was a pretty big market for it. Yeah, and we chose to spend more time on institutions for trainings. We used to run public programs on stage where it was a conference that was opened up to anyone and everyone from the sales industry or entrepreneurs or business owners. But we spent a lot of time working with organizations. So our approach to training with organizations is that we do not just have plug and play modules, right? So what we do is that we spend about a month or two, right, interviewing their different levels of management. We spend a month or two looking at their products, their services. We look at their strategies, their SMCs, their sales and marketing campaigns. We also look into the market research to identify, what is the market like? How should they be placing their products? How should they be approaching the market? And for those of them who are looking at, launching a new product, how do we plan the go-to-market strategies? So we spend a lot of time on research and development with the corporate clients. And then from there, what we do is that we then launch, the training modules. So we use a very in-depth approach. We don't want to just, focus on their sales floor or their sales force. We always tell them that management is also very important in ensuring that your salespeople are always motivated, are always updated, are always, highly skilled. So it's a very, how do I put it? It's a very in-depth approach. But at the same time, we look at the breadth of the whole company. So Sales Excellence Institute has always been focusing on institutions. Yeah. And over time, we also begin to look into not just their sales forces, but we begin to look into their management teams in terms of leadership, right? And then after a while, they begin to ask us to build team building trainings and so on and so forth. So we started as a sales training company, but over time we have gone into leadership, we've gone into team building. And me, myself, I'm also a peak performance trainer, as you would call it. So we also provide them with empowerment programs. So yeah, it's quite a bit of stuff.
Well, it sounds like a great variety, that's for sure.
Yeah.
What I really like is the fact that you're not, like what you mentioned, right? You're not looking at it as just, okay, salespeople need to do this, salespeople need to do that. But now you're looking at it as the entire machine of how it works as an organization. And of course, the focus on the salespeople is then how does this particular cog or wheel move in the entire system.
Yeah, correct. So what we do is that we actually look at the internal of the company first, right? What happens is that many times we see many organizations where they just say, okay, Leroy, I've got a training budget, right? I need to spend it. And can you just please make sure that you come in and train my sales floor, and then they can go out there and then they can sell better, right? But I will always tell them that that's not the approach to use, you know? Because if you just want to train your sales staff, to just send them out there, it's not enough. It's just the outer leg. It is the leg that is facing the market, right? But a lot of times, salespeople will feedback and they'll say, Leroy, internally within the organization, our marketing is not doing enough, right? Or our products are not placed effectively. Our products need to be relooked at. Our pricing strategies need to be relooked at. Our bundling packages need to be relooked at. So what we do is that we work with the organizations both on the go-to-market leg and the internal leg. So we take the information on both sides and then we speak to both sides, right? And then we create a congruence. And with that congruence, the salespeople have more confidence, number one, in their management, that their management is listening to them. Their management is always growing. Their management is dynamic. That's one. And two, the salespeople will then feel a lot more confident when they go to market because they know that behind them, they've got proper products, proper pricing, proper support. So it's never about just plugging a gap. Many organizations look at this, oh, Leroy, my sales staff are not hitting their revenue. Can you come in and plug this gap? Can you come in and plug that gap? But our focus has never been that. Our focus has been, let's not just look at plugging the gap. Let's look at growing the business. And that takes the entire business to come together, right? From leaders to what we like to call the foot soldiers, right? They need to come together, work together. We stand in the center, we manage it, we build, and then we go out. That's what we normally do most of the time, and it works.
That's fantastic, man. Now, you mentioned earlier on that sales training, or at least training in general, right? Specifically, was a passion for you. But you've also shown a real passion, right, and interest in sales specifically. So this is a very unique thing that I really wanted to explore, which is delving into the why of why you like sales. When did your sales kind of epiphany, just appear in your head?
It actually all started when I was a teenager. Nowadays, I'm very sociable. I'm confident enough to put myself in a group of people and have a conversation, right? But when I was in secondary school, I was never ostracized, right? But I was never the most sociable. Yeah, I always struggled with the ability to express, what my thoughts were, what my emotions were, right? I wasn't, well, how would you put it? I wasn't, like I said, socially awkward, but I was just not very social, right? And after a while, I began to realize that I needed to improve these skills. So from a very young age, I already began to go and read up on communication. I went to go read up on expression of thought, expression of emotions. And then as I got older, and when I was in university, I began to ask myself, what was I going to do after I left university, right? I was not really clear. I wasn't really clear. But what I knew that I wanted to do was that I wanted to hone my skills in communicating with people. And after a while, I developed this, this desire to always be communicating, to always be talking, right? And eventually, when I left university, I realized that all that I learned in university, which was in social sciences, right, in psychology, in English language, and so on and so forth, it was actually a good skill set to have, right? And it would be the most well placed in sales. So I went into sales and I tested it out, and I realized that I do enjoy it because in sales, I think every salesperson will tell you the same thing. In sales, every day is a new day. And I'm the kind of a person who gets bored very easily, right? So every day is a new day. Every client is a new type of client, right? Every day the market changes, the market shifts. And then in this present time, every day there's a new competitor on the market. So it's a very, involving industry, right? It causes you to always be on your toes. It causes you to always have a great desire to keep on learning. And so what happened for me was that in sales, it was the one place that made me feel that I was constantly upgrading myself, you know? And while we do a lot of corporate trainings, I can see that, some people who are not in the sales department, right? When we do leadership, team building and stuff like that, they do share with me. They say, Leroy, I've been sitting at this desk for 2 years and I've not really upgraded myself much, right? Every day is the same thing that I'm doing. Every day is the same computer that I'm staring at, the same calculator that I'm pressing. But what's really interesting is that salespeople, they'll tell you, no, every day is a new day. Every day I'm learning something new. And for me, being an academic at heart, I love to learn, right? So that's why I felt that sales was a place for me, right? Some people ask me, was it about the money? Because salespeople, if you do very well, you can earn good money. Yeah. I mean, it's a good driver, right? But for me, my strongest driver is the process of learning. So I've always felt that sales is the best industry to learn because you learn about how do you get your points across? How do you structure your sentences, right? That's internally. How do you manage your own emotions when someone rejects you, right? How do you plan your time, right? How do you bring out the best in you even when things are at their very worst, right? That's on your side. On the other side is how do you convince someone? How do you take what they're going through, their values, their goals, right? And then how do you make your product fit in there? It's such a dynamic, right, environment. And that causes you to continuously learn, not only from reading books, not only from going for trainings, but you are also learning in the process of selling, right? So there's just so much learning that you can have in sales. Someone once told me this, right? A great salesperson never goes hungry, right? So I think that's a really good statement. As long as you keep on upgrading yourself, you will never go hungry.
Right.
So that's why I went into sales.
That particular point, right, about that client that you had, about saying that he didn't upgrade himself for the last 2 years. Now, when that's a very broad term. When we say upgrading, right, do we necessarily mean upskilling, or are we talking about honing or sharpening the saw? What are we really looking at when we say upgrading for salespeople?
For salespeople?
Yeah.
Okay. So for salespeople, I think when it comes to upgrading, we have always worked with organizations on a very basic fundamental. When you talk about upgrading for salespeople, there are two things to always be looking at upgrading, right? The first one is attitude. The second one is aptitude, right? And it's a very basic standard sales theory that most sales trainers use. So what happens very simply is that we talk about attitude. People need to continuously upgrade their attitude, right? Now, I'm not saying from a bad attitude to a good attitude, but more importantly, it's all about upgrading your attitude so that you are ready for market. Okay. Now, in sales, the market is brutal, right? I'm not here to blow sunshine at anybody and say that sales is a wonderful industry that has got such easy days and everything's wonderful. Every day you wake up with a big broad smile upon your face and go, yes, I'm going to meet my clients, right? No. The sales market is a brutal market, okay? It is a brutal market. And why do I say it's a brutal market? It's because of the fact that competition is heavy,
Mm.
right? You want to buy a watch, you've got hundreds of brands to choose from. You want to buy a computer, it's the same thing. You want to buy insurance, it's the same thing. You've got thousands of agents to go and speak to. You want to buy houses, you've got so many agents to go and speak to, right? So consumers are spoiled for choice, right? They're spoiled for choice. That's one. Two, technology has brought sales to a point where salespeople sometimes are at the back foot, right? They're on the back foot. Now, why they're on the back foot is because a lot of times people, before they want to buy something, I mean, what do we do when we want to buy something? We don't go and call a salesperson and ask them to go and introduce it to us, right? We will always do our research first. And now, because the internet is so transparent and so in-depth, we can get so much information first. And then we go and talk to the salesperson to just hammer him or her with all the questions that we have based on our limited understanding of what we read on the internet, right? I mean, it's brutal, right? And so salespeople on a daily basis, I mean, I feel for them because I am one of them, right?
Mm.
On a daily basis, we are fighting wars, right? We are fighting wars. So now, when this happens, okay, the question that we got to ask ourselves is this: are we mentally and emotionally, right, ready to manage all of this? Let me give you an example, okay? You see, there are two people in a sales team, okay? Both of them are selling the same product at the same price, okay? Both of them go to market. They go and sell, right? One of them receives 10 rejections out of 12. The other one receives 5 rejections out of 12. Now, the question here is this: who do you think is going to be feeling better about themselves?
Oh, naturally, the one with the higher hit rate.
So the one who got 5 rejections,
Yes, correct.
he will feel better about himself.
Oh, yeah.
Not really.
I honestly think that. Yeah.
Well, not really. Why? Because it all depends. You see, the person who had 5 rejections out of 12, he might be so focused on that 5 rejections, and he's going to be feeling horrible about himself. And when human beings, generally speaking, when we feel horrible about ourselves, what do? If we do not know how to control it within ourselves, we will go down the whole, it's my product's fault, it's the market's fault, it's the client's fault, it's my manager's fault, it's my company's fault, right? He had 5 rejections, 7 successes, right? But because he doesn't have the right attitude, okay, of how he responds to the rejections, how he controls his emotions, his capacity to be able to learn from the rejections, right? His knowledge base internally, all of these things, he might actually feel worse than the person who got 10 rejections out of 12.
Purely because of the attitude.
Precisely. The person who got 10 out of 12 might be going, you know what, I got 10 that told me no. But you know what, I've got 10 very valuable learning lessons. 10 lessons that nobody else has had, but I have. And I'm going to use these 10 because I still believe in myself. I still believe in my product. I still believe in the market. I'm going to use these 10 and I'm going to go out there, hone my skills, learn what I have gone wrong with, and then I'm going to make a difference. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So a lot of times, salespeople have always said, oh, you know, for me, if I do well, then I'm a great salesperson. If I do badly, I'm a bad salesperson. That is a very strong reflection of their attitude towards it. So when we talk about attitude, I'm not talking about having a positive attitude, right? The motivational, right? No, I'm not talking about that. I've been invited to do so many motivational sales talks, right, to organizations, and I always tend to tell them, can I not do it?
Yeah,
it's not because
that's the irony,
I don't.
Right? Salespeople shouldn't need a motivational talk. Salespeople should already be self-motivated.
Well, that's where I'll jump in again. So what happens here is this, right? Is that I'll tell them that, you know, I cannot do it because you give me 45 minutes, okay? What I can do is that I can motivate them that they can be better. But salespeople, they know they can be better, like what you have said. They know they can be better. Salespeople are generally motivated. That's why they're in the business, right? They're in the business because they're motivated to succeed. But the problem is that for many of them, they find themselves being motivated, okay, But because of the attitude of how they handle the rejections, how they handle the market shifts, how they handle the competition, all of these things, right, eat into their motivation, right? And after a while, that motivation becomes frustration,
Ah,
you see? And how you plug that gap is this. How do you keep somebody motivated? It's not continuously tell them that behind every closed door, there's an open window, right? It's not to keep on asking them to, say, I can do it, we can, we stand
that's the
together, let's run. Yeah,
toxic positivity.
it's really not about that. Salespeople, the very moment you give them how do you sell, you give them the skills, the strategies, the techniques, you upgrade their mental capacity, teach them how to manage rejections, how to manage emotions, how to handle anything that they go through. And then when they integrate it into themselves, you can have a salesperson that is not performing, but still highly motivated to keep on going. You see?
Yep.
What we normally see in organizations is high-performing salespeople, highly motivated. Low-performing salespeople, lowly motivated. It's a very common situation. And when you ask them, why are you not motivated to go out there and sell? Why are you looking at the phone and the phone's looking at you, right? Why is your calendar empty? They always say, what's the point? Go and talk and talk and talk and talk. Still no sales. That is a very clear indicator of low performance, low motivated. But what we do with organizations is that we tell them that we come from a psychological approach, right? Where we share with them a bit about, even when you're having low performance, what are the skills and strategies that you must have so that you keep your motivation high? When you keep your motivation high, you naturally take more action. And when you take action, you always get results. It's either a positive result or a negative result. Positive result reinforces your motivation, right? A negative result can frustrate you and eat into your motivation, or a negative result with a strong foundation, okay, can be used as a motivating factor to learn from it. And when you learn from it, you upgrade your skill. And when you upgrade your skill, you feel more confident. When you feel more confident, you become more motivated. So it's about putting all the cogs together so that when the salesperson is going through the crunch, right, they're continuously building themselves even while they're getting rejections.
Right.
So, it's a very in-depth, it's a very intense, learning for salespeople to go through this, right? But once they have grasped it and once they've integrated it, it makes them into a very different animal altogether.
Right. Do you feel that salespeople in general, right, don't give themselves enough credit? Because you mentioned that, you got to learn, you got to go through that feedback loop, that feedback cycle, and continuously tell yourself, where did I go wrong? What needs to improve? Or where have I been improving? So that part, right, it's something like, I feel that it's not so strong in many of us. And what can we do, right, actively to be able to help us improve in that sense mentally, so that we know that, okay, I really have improved in this area, to give myself credit where credit is due?
Okay, so, well, if you put it that way, we look at it from two angles. Yeah. The first angle is, that feedback loop, right? I get a rejection. I know what kind of questions to ask myself about where I've gone wrong. I know how to, pen it down into notes. I know how to reflect on it, right? Even all of these things require a skill set. People always say, look on the bright side, right? Keep on learning from your failures, right? Learning from your failures. The question is, how do you learn from your failures, right? How do you learn from it, right? What questions do you ask when you have a failure, right? So it's not just learning from your failures. It's not just, making notes on what you've gone through. It's what type of notes are you looking for? Now, so this feedback loop, right? So when this feedback loop happens, okay, it's very easy to tell salespeople, keep on doing that feedback. But you must understand that the salesperson is in a sales career in the greater part of their life. Okay? So the external pressures beyond their sales career, okay, is something that we realize has affected many people. Now, I'll give you an example. If let's say, for example, there's a person who's a salesman in a company, and what happens very simply is this, okay? He has a family to feed, all right? He knows about the feedback loop. He knows he must keep on going, right? But what happens very simply is that as he's going through the feedback loop, he's not earning. And when he doesn't earn, he starts to feel the pressure of paying the bills, putting food on the table, getting kids to school, right? And for some salespeople, they don't have basic salaries. They're purely on commission. Now, all of these external pressures sit on them too. So while they are doing their best to do the feedback loop, and wanting to keep on going, these external pressures sometimes make them lose track of that feedback loop. And they spend more time worrying. They spend more time in anxiety, right? And that's when, the motivation is being bitten off. Because if they were just only in a feedback loop and there are no other pressures around them, it's going to be a lot easier for them. So that is why, like I said, there's a very wide and in-depth approach to it. So we don't just, want to train people on just, the feedback loop, but we always help salespeople to understand where they stand in the greater part of their life and how the sales career needs to feed energy into the other parts of their life, and how the other parts of their life, the same problems that they're facing, there's also another feedback loop around them. Because we need to create a wholesome person as a salesperson, not just a really great salesperson. We want to focus on all of that. So if you ask me, do we salespeople give ourselves enough credit? I'll be honest with you, we want to, right? We all want to, but we don't know how to. Because the sales industry is one where it's always about results, right?
Yeah.
Think about it. You walk into it's revenue driven. You walk into any organization and you will probably see a plaque on the wall, right? Highest revenue for the month, right? Top salesperson, top producer, top this, top that. And it's always based on what? Numbers. It's always based on revenue. So salespeople find it very difficult to give themselves credit for their progress, for how they're building, because in the sales world, it's all about numbers. I've yet to see an organization, right, that has a plaque on the wall that says top effort, right? That means the managers came together and say, you know something? He is not the top producer, but my gosh, he puts in so much effort, right? I've not seen, top gung-ho, something like that. So I've not seen effort, right? I've not seen effort being rewarded. And in the sales industry, it's all about numbers. So yes, do I feel that we need to give ourselves a lot more credit? Yes. Question here is this. Again, it's all about the how, right? Salespeople, they only celebrate and clap their hands. They ring the bell in the office the very moment that a deal comes in, right? But they don't look at the small successes. Like today, I'm a better salesperson than I was yesterday. Let me celebrate that a bit, right? So that's, it's interesting that you brought that up, because that's something that we also focus with them. When we talk about sales goals, right? We always tell the salespeople, celebrate your growth, not only your numbers.
Yeah.
A lot of them are
the growth.
The growth, right? And celebrate the small deals, not only just the big ones.
Right.
And that is why I say that salespeople need to also work with their organization, because even if I train the entire sales floor to celebrate their growth, to celebrate the small deals versus the big deals also, management might not agree. Management might all be about revenue, right? Yeah. Clap hands when it's revenue. So that's why we always work top down, down up. We tell management, you need to celebrate growth. You need to tell your staff, I saw you working really hard yesterday. How did it go? It went terrible. The client said, no. Fantastic. What did you learn? Great, you've grown. And then walk away. You see, motivation can be external and it can be internal. Acknowledgement, internal, external. It's a system. It's an ecosystem. No salesperson is an island. Yep. Organizations and salespeople need to come together to build that culture. where giving credit is not only based on numbers. I'm sorry, I'm really passionate about this part because I've
I completely
seen
agree with you.
so many salespeople suffer because they just don't know how to manage their careers. And it's painful. I mean, sales is a rewarding career. It's a really rewarding career, right? But when you're so numbers driven and you only learn to smile when you have your numbers, it's a painful career, you know? Yeah.
Yep, it is because you're only judged exactly what you said. You're judged by your numbers. The scariest thing in that whole conversation, right, with senior management, it's always, look, our numbers from week on week, we've grown X number of thousand. Then instead of saying, yeah, good, we're making progress, we're seeing growth, right? We're appreciating the effort. It becomes like, this thousand only, it always feels like you're never good enough. It's never
Yeah.
enough, right? Only one in that few hundred, right, will become that top salesperson, right? Fact is, that's the fact, right? Not everybody in insurance is $1 million round table. Not everybody in sales is going to be the top performer of the month or the year, or even get that 6 times bonus or whatever it is that the company is able to do. But many a times, right, if looking at the organization in itself, if that doesn't change, salespeople will continue to be very unmotivated, and
Mhm.
that they will continue to also want to shift to another place that can give them either more money, or resources, right? Something better for their CV, or essentially it's just something that they can take home at the end of the day. But it won't be something that I will be loyal to the company or I will be motivated to stay with this company. It will just end up pushing people away.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. And while we are also focused on the fact that the organization in itself plays a very big role, not just to provide a training budget to give them, upgrading of skills, but to really look at the internal culture of the firm itself, salespeople themselves also need to play their part, right?
Yep.
Because I just want to pick up on what you just said. You mentioned that, so salespeople, the moment they don't hit their revenue targets, they say, I'm going to go to a different company, right? They want to find a better product, right? A more established company, right? A company that has got larger market share, right? Or higher market potential, right? So what happens very simply is that they go there. They go there.
But the
And guess
cycle
what?
still follows again.
It's still the same.
Same cycle, same
Because
shit, different day.
salespeople are always looking for the perfect product, the perfect price, the perfect market. And sadly enough, I'm the bearer of bad news. It doesn't exist. How many times have you seen inferior quality products priced exorbitantly selling really well, when a great quality product priced competitively not selling at all, right? So people are always searching for that perfect product, perfect price, perfect market. Doesn't exist. A great salesperson, right? This is a very old saying that I have, right? A great salesperson can sell ice to an Eskimo, right? Someone once asked me, what about selling, something that is really bad in quality, but very high in price? Can it be sold? Yes.
Can.
Whether you want to sell it because of your
It's your
own
ethics.
ethics,
a question of your ethics.
that's another thing. Yeah. But can it be done? It can be done. So, salespeople need to realize that jumping from company to company, which I've seen a lot, right? I do a lot of trainings in certain industries. I'm not going to mention which ones they are because it's quite sensitive. But I see some of them saying, oh yeah, Leroy, in the last 5 years, I've changed 3 companies. And I always ask them why. And they always tell me, well, it's because I want to go and find myself a better company. I say, what do you mean by a better company? What are you looking for in a better company? Oh, better support, better products, better price. And I said, have you found it yet? Nope. What are you going to do? Find it. And I told him, I said, my friend, brother, you will not be able to do this, right? And then I would share with them strategies on how do you know when it's really the wrong company, right?
Yeah.
And then many of them realize that in actual fact, they're not in a wrong company. They just have a very wrong approach to the company. So if you look at this, it's not a one-sided thing. Organization plays its part. Salespeople play their part. But if they play their parts independently, There's a lack of communication between both parties. And when both parties do not communicate, they might be playing their part by going in absolutely different directions.
Yep.
And that's why a lot of times you see in some companies exodus of sales staff, or they move from one place to another place as a whole group, because there's this lack of communication as everybody is doing their best to play their part. So what we love to do, right, is to help them to improve their skills here, but we also work on that connection with them, right? And when you integrate these two things together, that's when you see a vehicle as one moving forward.
Something that I like to also check, I mean, we may have covered this earlier on as well, but I would like to take an outside in and inside out approach, meaning to say that what are the misconceptions that external people see about sales and salespeople in general versus the misconceptions that salespeople themselves have about sales. So it's kind of like saying, outside, right? It's like, yeah, they say that, okay, salespeople, right? They put the con in convince. But fact of the matter is that it's not necessarily the case. I've always seen sales as a wonderful tool and skill set to promote communication skills, right? It's not so much, it's partly willing buyer, willing seller, right? The persuasion, the salesmanship, the ability to gain trust and build rapport even upon meeting that person, or even just looking at your bloody photo in WhatsApp, right? Will already give you a sense of this person. Of course, there are little things. Oh, make sure you put pictures of your family so people know you're a family man, or put a picture of your dog or whatever it is, It all works, right? Okay, so I'm kind of supporting
Well,
the whole con and convince thing. I'm sorry.
looks like
But
I need to change my WhatsApp photo then,
yeah,
because
you
my
gotta
WhatsApp
take the
photo has got no dog, no nothing.
no.
Mine is
Yours is
the
perfectly
logo of the
fine.
Knights Templar.
Yeah, that's right. So that's a bit different. I'm gonna put the Illuminati one soon. Okay, but you got your other profile pics, right? The mad scientist hair. You got to change that, lah.
Well, you know what's interesting? The mad scientist hair is what I've always been known for.
Oh,
People
hey,
have
it's
always
become a
said,
brand. Look at that.
Yeah, it has actually become a brand, which is what I sometimes do talk with, whenever I do lead generation trainings with organizations. I always tell them that, one thing that I'm known in the market for is, number one, the mad scientist hair, and number two, the trainer who always wears black. So today I'm wearing white, right? But the trainer who's always in black. So people say, do you know Leroy? Yeah. The guy with the hair, that defies gravity, stuff like that. So it's actually a brand. So I share with them that, branding is not about having a certain structure, a beautiful structure. It can be something quirky that you're known for, right? It can be something quirky that you're known for. And there are many brands out there that are, they are very well received because they're funky, they're quirky. But anyway, that's a whole training program altogether. But when we talk about misconception of salespeople, yeah, it is true. And I'll be very honest with you, okay? Salespeople sometimes are the reason why there are misconceptions about salespeople. There are bad eggs in every industry. Let's be honest, right? Not only in sales. If you're talking about, any other professional sector, there are always bad eggs, right? And in sales, it just so happens that it is shown a lot more. Why? Because salespeople are on the ground 24/7. They are in society 24/7. And so society talks. Society relate, right? They speak to one another all the time. So sales being one of what I like to call one of the most exposed industries, right? Because everywhere you turn, you see one. Because of that frequency that salespeople are in the market, the bad eggs, their little behaviors tend to be generalized across the whole industry. Yeah? And that's what happens. So do I say that these misconceptions are misconceptions? Yes and no. Some of it is real. There are some salespeople who do practice certain ways of doing things that are not right, right? Like you said, right? They put the con in convince. Now, there's another saying, right? If you cannot convince, confuse.
Confuse.
If you cannot confuse, con, right? So there are some of them out there who practice that, right? They use underhanded techniques. They misrepresent. They sell what's in their interest and not what's in the client's interest. They exist. And now, you see, the problem here is this. If let's say I did that to a client, let's say I did that to Edric, okay? So Edric, I did that to you. What happens is that you will probably go and tell your friend. And then your friend will tell his friend. And it just keeps on spreading. So sometimes whenever people talk to me, I mean, this is a very big topic all the time, about misconceptions about sales people is this. Is they always ask me, they always say, your salespeople, you only tell us the good things, not tell us the bad things. I always ask them this question, have you experienced it yourself before? And I can tell you, out of every 10, 5 will say, no, I heard it from a friend.
Yeah, they generalize.
I heard it from a friend. They generalize. Now, will this go away? Absolutely not. It will never go away. Bad eggs will always cause this to happen on a daily basis. Yeah. Now, so that's one area. The second area is about the misconception of salespeople is that they don't see us as professionals. I don't know if you know this, right? They always say, if you cannot succeed anywhere else, let's go into sales. Let's sell whatever you can sell. And that actually irritates me. It angers me because they say that, we don't actually have the kind of education of professionals, right? People always tell me this, Leroy, lawyers take 4 years, doctors take 6 years, right, to be a professional, right? So people, you always talk only. And that frustrates me, that angers me because doctors save lives. I respect it. I love that they do that, right? Lawyers defend people. Lawyers defend society on one side of things. Lawyers defend people on the other side of things, right? Mm-hmm. Salespeople, they say we only sell things. No. If a salesperson truly believes in his product, they truly believe in their service, and they know for a fact that it impacts a person's life, it changes a person's life, how then are we any different from anybody else? A doctor creates better health in a person. True? Salespeople, our product makes your life a better place.
Yep.
Our service makes your life a better place. And as long as salespeople remain professional, ethics, integrity, and morals, to me, personally, we are professionals. And that's something that I've always been passionate about. And I've always told salespeople this one thing. Never, ever allow people to look down on you just because you're a salesperson. Always keep your head up high, keep your pride there, because the product and the service that you sell impacts people's lives. If you feel that it does not impact people's life as much as you want to, find a product or a service that you can go and push out into the market that makes you feel that way. So this is something that I'm really passionate about, right? That we are professionals for as long as we do the right thing.
Okay, Leroy for president. Yeah, but I love that. Now, quick question. Do you believe that salespeople can still succeed if they don't believe in their product?
Personally, no. A salesperson can succeed even if they don't believe in their product, if their driving factor is just sales revenue. But there will be a limit to their success. If that person were to take that kind of drive, that kind of ability to something that they really believe in, they go much further. There are many salespeople out there, they don't really believe in their product. I've met them, right? They don't believe in their product, but they still sell very well because they have a natural ability to convince. Yep. They are really good at handling objections, building rapport, right? Building emotions. They are really good at, being in conversation, right? Networking, stuff like that. They're really good at it. But they don't believe in the product because all that they're focused on is revenue. Now, you put that person into a product that they believe, how much more would they actually achieve? Which is why sometimes whenever it is that I work with salespeople, whether it's a team or one-to-one coaching sessions, one of the first few things that I always do is I will always put them through a test. They do not know that they're going through the test, but I put them through a test to see how they speak about their product. You see, when somebody is convicted about something, You can see it in their voice, in their micro expressions, in how they talk about it, their choice of words. You can see it versus someone who's just peddling a product. You see? So when I put them through that test, if I realize that they do not believe in their product, I don't teach them any sales skills during their coaching session or during their training session. I will spend time with them, helping them identify what do they believe in, and then send them down that road so that they can be far more effective than where they are right now.
Yeah. So this is exactly why salespeople are still very essential in my eyes. Fact is that digital marketing, digital sales, right, cannot replace that kind of sincerity that a salesperson is able to bring to you, customizing to the point whereby I will keep doing this until you say yes. That kind of drive whereby, yes, machines can do that, right? They'll be it whether or not they're gonna spam you with all sorts of things to the point whereby
They
they
send
beat you
drones
into
in with
submission.
flyers.
Oh, that's right, that's right. Into your house, just sending things in, people throwing rocks in, written with messages on them, whatever it takes, right? But humans, on the other hand, it's still that sincerity that you have to bring to the table, and somehow or other, that's always worked for me, to be able to be that sincere, to lay it on the table and say, hey, look, this is something that I really think will work for you. At the same time, you have to note these things, right? There are others in the market, but this is where it is, and I would really love for you to consider this. It's not about me trying to sell you something or take your money, right? But it's really something that I truly believe will help. That's always been my approach, and if I didn't believe it, I wouldn't sell it.
Good for you, man. Good for you. Because to be very clear on this, there are many people out there. I mean, we are being candid, right?
Oh, of course.
There are many salespeople out there that I've met. They don't believe in their product. But you know why they're selling it?
Because of the money. They're trying to make
Because
a
of the
quick
money.
buck.
Because of the money, or because they can't be hired somewhere else, right? Or just because they just say that, this place that whatever I'm selling right now is going to be a stepping stone to what I really want to go to. That's a reality. That's a reality of which organizations that we work with, they know. They know that some of their organizations are just stepping stones, and the salespeople are just there because that's a job that they could get.
Right.
Right? So what we actually do with these organizations is that we tell them, turn these people around. And how do you turn somebody around is to not just tell them, sell my product. This is your target revenue. We tell them, get these people involved in your product placements. Get these people involved in your product enhancements. They have no sense of belonging, make them have it. Give it to them. Build that culture around them. And they will start to believe. You see? So it is true. Their market has quite a number of salespeople. Okay, I can't say it's all. Definitely, it's definitely not all. There are many out there who love and believe in what they do. But there are people out there who are just selling it for the sake of selling it. And if the organization doesn't play its part to make a change in that, these people will be part of the high turnover rate over time.
Right. I would definitely like to challenge this particular thing to whoever it is. Always ask, or at least I would like you to ask yourself, why do you do sales? What is it about this sales do you enjoy? The entire sales process from start to finish. And when I say start to finish, it's not meeting your client first, but doing your prospecting, understanding your product, learning about the research, learning your sales 7-step, 9-step, 13-step, 21-step sales process, okay, that you have to do. To be honest, I gave that all back already. At the end of the day, it's gone down to the point whereby I just want to know, why is it that you do your sales? What is it at the end of the day that makes you truly happy and dedicated to say, good, I can move on to the next one, and because I really want to do it. This is something that took very long for me to figure out.
Let me jump in here, okay? I don't want people to think that, oh, I'm in sales because I enjoy the money, and that's wrong. No. That is not wrong. If you are in sales because you want the money, because it's a rewarding career, how much you work is how much you earn, right? The more you work, the more you earn. The smarter you work, the higher you earn, right? And you are doing it because of the money. There's actually nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just challenging people to say that how much more effective would you be if you were in sales for the money while at the same time believe in your product? How much more effective would you really be? And have you actually stopped the hunt for finding something that you truly believe in selling? Right? Couple that with your desire with money, and then couple that also with a love for people and a love for communication, and you become a whole different machine altogether.
You become a savage in sales, for sure. One more question for you. Do you think that there's a major skill set difference between hunter and farmer?
Can you please define for me hunter and farmer? Because everybody gives me different definitions. So I want to know what's yours.
Hunter is basically always new accounts. All right. I don't service. I close. Boom. Move on. Farmers are very, very long tail in the sense that they hold the account. They continue to keep growing, maybe 3 to 5% year on year for each account.
Okay. So your definition is more or less the same as quite some other people. To me, there's no difference. Because you need to break down your industry first. So number one is your industry. Some industries are what we like to call the machine gun industries, right? That means within sales, the industry is below it, right? Machine guns industry, it means pam, 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 pam. Every day, transaction. Because they have a support system behind, right? So I close the deal, I hand it over to the support team manages the account, right? They build on the account. So some sectors are like that. Some sectors, it's one man, one account, grow it over the years. So whether you're a hunter or a farmer, right? And which one is more important? Which one do you spend more time on? Well, number one, it depends on your industry that you're selling to. That's number one. Number two, you need to decide whether you prefer being a hunter or a farmer, and then you go and choose a company that facilitates you being a farmer or a hunter. So I've known many salespeople who love sales, but they are so disgruntled because they say, well, every day must pump. Because, and then as I get to know them, and as we start to extract their values in their life, we start to extract their preferred behaviors in their life, their preferred activities in their life. I said, you're not a hunter. You're a farmer. You know, you build on relationships. That's why you are so frustrated. You love the idea of sales. You enjoy the idea of sales, but you hate the fast games. Pump. You hate them. You want to sit down, coffee and conversation. Or in Singapore, it's called curry puff and kopi. Correct? Right? Coffee and conversation, right? You want to get to know their families. You want to go and play golf. You want to watch a movie, right? You want to do all of these things. Then you are in the wrong industry. Go to the farmer side. And then there's some people who love to hunt, but then they're in the farmer's role. And then they feel bored. Because, so that's why the general term of the word salespeople is too broad for the general public to really understand who we are. Think about it, right? If you look at doctors, there are many different fields, true or not? Right? Salespeople are the same. You've got the hunters, the farmers, the gatherers, and so on and so forth. So similarly, what I would say is identify if you're a hunter or a farmer, and then after that, make a decision, and then you will be comfortable with how you're moving forward.
Very interesting. Thank you so much for sharing that, Leroy.
No problem.
So, it's been an hour into this already. I've taken up a lot of your time. Thank you so much for that. Now, there's always one last segment that we do in every show, and that is a rapid fire 10 question so that our listeners can get to know you in a very, very, very short amount of time. All right. So, Leroy, are you ready for the epic questionnaire?
Let's do it.
All right. Question number 1. One word that you love the most.
One word that I love the most. Serendipity.
What? Okay, cool. I don't know why it always sounds like some Indian dish to me, that word. Serendipity.
I am half Indian.
Yeah, well, it's true. Yeah. One word that you dislike the most.
No. Typical
Irony,
salesperson.
right? Salespeople are supposed to love no, though, because then it gives us a chance to kind of fight it. There's
Yeah,
an essence of challenge that you want. Getting
that
yeses
was a
too easily is like kind of like I get lazy, right?
yeah. That was a
Yeah,
cheeky answer, but anyways.
yeah. If you could have a conversation with a person, fictional, non-fictional, dead or alive, who would that be?
Malcolm X.
Malcolm X. Cool. What do you say to yourself in the mirror every morning?
What a good-looking boy. No, I'm just kidding. What I say to myself in the mirror every morning is, honestly, why is my hairline receding?
Why is my hairline receding? Okay.
Followed by, let's do today.
Nice. Name one superpower that you'd like to have.
Wolverine.
What? The healing, the adamantium skeleton,
The
the
adamantium
speed,
skeleton.
power. Oh,
Adamantium
nice.
skeleton.
Okay. Okay. And favorite dish to eat.
Devil's curry.
Favorite travel spot or the next travel spot you'd like to go to once borders open up.
Borders open up. Base Camp Everest.
Ooh. Something in the arts that you've always wanted to do but yet to do so.
Be you.
Be me.
Now, I've always in the arts. Is it? Well, I do not know if being a talk show host is an art. I mean, is part of the
Yes.
arts?
It's
Is
more as
it?
media and arts, right? It's kind of.
Yeah. So it's probably to be a talk show host. Hopefully to be on Top Gear.
Okay. And you get to place your name on the board there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just be above Jimmy Carr or something. You'll be fine. Oh, Captain Slow. What does retirement look like to you?
A castle in Ireland.
Say what?
A
A
castle
castle
in Ireland.
Okay, why a castle and why Ireland? This I gotta know.
Well, I'm introverted, right? I mean, most people don't believe it, but I am actually very introverted. Why Ireland? I've not found a place more beautiful than that when it comes to the countryside. And that's one. So my retirement would be something that I would love to be in a place where I open up my doors. I don't see civilization for hundreds and for as far as the eye can see. Right, that's one. And why a castle? I don't know. Ever since I was young, I've always been obsessed about calling myself a duke or an earl. So, I mean, if let's say, for example, if I had a castle, I can be, king of my castle, right? And, the name Leroy in French actually means the king. So I think it fits. Yeah.
Ah, interesting. And last question. How do you want to be remembered? What's your legacy?
A man after God's heart.
All right, short and sweet. Now, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much to Leroy Frank Ratnam of SEI, the Sales Excellence Institute. Now, head on over to sei.sg, check out the training programs that that they have to offer. And again, big thanks to Leroy for spending an hour with us, sharing so much of his thoughts, his wisdom, and his passion with all of us on this little channel that we call the EPIC Podcast. Now, Leroy, do you have anything else you'd like to add on to our listeners over here?
Well, if you come from the context of salespeople, find what you love to sell. Love the people that you sell to. That's basically it.
All right. Thanks so much. And with that, we will see you next week. This has been the EPIC Podcast, and
Thank you
we're
very
out.
much.
And a peace.